Hello. I look back upon my teaching career and I see a lot of my ex-pupils doing some fantastic things, running companies. One of them has even built an igloo on the continent, and in that igloo is an actual bar. It's quite an amazing thing. So, having been a teacher, you do tend to see some wonderful things. And then as a teacher you also get pained by the fact that you lose some of your students. I've lost 3 students, 2 while at school, 1 afterwards. The 2 at school, one was a road accident, another was a household accident, and this 3rd one, which I knew about only a couple of years ago, was a young man who committed suicide. And accidents happen. I don't mean to belittle the deaths, because all death is a tragedy in a way. But accidents, you know that there was nothing troubling that person. But when it comes to suicide, it hurts, because you wonder what on earth was going on in that person to do that. And I do think of the young man in question, how he was such a bright and companionable chap, really very wonderful. And to learn that he committed suicide, it makes you question, well, what on earth was going on there? And there have been lots of young men talking about suicide lately, and I hear it most in the music industry, where you can hear some very visceral music of the last 20-30 years. You can hear sort of the rage in young men, and it makes you question why are they so angry. And I'm sure people like Jordan Peterson will have some very ready answers. But what it doesn't prepare you for is for the fact that you hear pop music, rock music screaming. You hear these young men screaming. And that makes you wonder, have they lost hope? Have our young men lost hope? Because it seems to me that there are a lot of young men out there who are struggling to find a meaningful existence. And we've got a world now that sort of tries to take away meaning. That meaning for the meaning of the human life is meaningless search, fruitless. We have this phrase of toxic masculinity, and indeed, you see that you look at socially, and you see so many men trying to present themselves as being strong, macho, and ready to defend. But ready to defend against what? I think a lot of young men, if the devil came at them, all guns blazing, as an identifiable enemy, if they could see him approach like that, then they wouldn't have a trouble, because they'd be sort of ready to attack, and defend, and they'd know how to attack, they'd have all the strategies ready. But the enemy is far more subtle than that. And I think a lot of young men are losing their purpose, losing their sense of purpose. And nothing gives them pleasure. And I think a lot of things that they find pleasurable are being taken away from them. So, what do we do? What's the issue here? The enemy is very clever because it plays on insecurities. And that's why he tries to attack all of us with this sense of meaninglessness. The existentialism of the last century is bearing its fruit, and the fruit is a depression, quite frankly. And it's prevalent amongst those who desperately want to do something. Now, why should this target young men? Well, I think young men are being made to feel that they are worthless by society. And I think there's a lot of a culture of victimhood, where you have to somehow have to demonstrate some sort of I am an oppressed minority. Here I am, please help me. And of course, if someone is being oppressed, you try and take away their oppression. But I think for some young men that they don't see themselves as being victims of a system. And it's a system that often places them as the oppressors. Rather than the victims of something else. What role models do young men have to sort of inspire them on the way? There are lots, but I find that a lot of the role models are being eroded. The faults are being found, and they're being made out to be bad people. So I wonder what the solution is for our young men. In fact, I know what the solution is, but a lot of people won't see it. There is a role model. There are role models in the church. The great warrior saints. They don't fight against flesh and blood. But you see, the thing is, our young men today, their enemy is not flesh and blood. It's not someone that they can attack with various martial arts instruments. It's an enemy that's got under their skin and is destroying them from the inside. But if you look at the great warrior saints, St. Peter, St. Paul, who they don't use violence against anyone. The violence is a spiritual warfare against the one who would destroy them. You look at Peter, and how his death looks like a tragedy, and yet he follows his master and has a glorious death. Likewise, St. Paul follows his master and has a glorious death. We have to be careful, I think, in society with our approach to dealing with young men. because I think that they are being regarded as being toxic, that they're not regarded as being people whose energy and vigour can be used for such wonderful and creative purposes. We're not seeing that their lives have this void in them that they're trying to fill and can't fill. And we have to address that, I think, as a society. In the church, well, we try to address it by showing them our Lord Jesus Christ as the example. Strong, because he throws out an entire complement of money changers from the temple. Powerful, in that he will readily heal people, and he won't take any nonsense. Yet humble, and able to bear the blows of the devil. That's the example that we need to set. Even if we're not the good example, I mean, none of us are perfect. We can't be. But there is meaning to life, and there is an ideal for all of us, not just young men, but for all of us. So God bless you. God bless you if you are a young man trying to find your way in life and are struggling against forces you don't understand. God bless you. May God deliver you from these forces and show you the wonderful purpose that he has for you. God bless you if you have been affected by suicide and you're still trying to come to terms with that. God bless you, and may the pain that you feel be transformed into something that radiates the glory of God and brings you to eternal joy in him. And God bless you that we may all stand together defending each other from the snares and slings of the devil, so that we may all stand with God and glorify him. God bless you, and please pray for me.